Inside the Birds is back. What's going on, everybody? Geoff Mosher and Adam Caplan here for another Inside the Birds, the first post game Inside the Birds, right? It's weird because the Eagles played on a Friday night, Adam. First post game one of week one. The Eagles with a big win over the Green Bay Packers. We talked about it in the post game show. Given what they went through last year, given how they collapsed, you're facing a very good opponent, and Green Bay came to play. You make mistakes, you look sloppy, but our overriding takeaway is you want to know. All right, that's not going to matter much in November or December when you need to be a great team and clicking all cylinders. But I felt like they really needed to get off to a good start this year with all the newness.
This game had so much urgency for a regular season game. I know it's a first game. There's a little bit more urgency, but it was such a knockdown, drag out fight. It was a really amazing football game. I got to tell you, more that I reviewed it over the weekend. It's kind of an amazing game, and they found a way to win. And see, people are saying, "Oh, this is much like last year." I don't see that. When did they come back and win a game late down the stretch? They didn't. That was the thing. They kept choking. They had a lead, they would choke, or they wouldn't win. They had some bad performances. They hung in there. They found a way to win. That's what your job is to do. I was talking to our friend John T. Filippo, the former Eagles quarterbacks coach. He made a good point about. I asked him about certain throws in the game, and when we discussed the bad Hurts interception, he goes, when it's a bad pick, you really don't have to say anything. The quarterback knows it. Like, he knows better than to throw it across his body. I thought that was a interesting response from John. He goes, you don't usually have to say much. You
Right.
don't have to say much other than say, hey, we need to do better with this. You don't really have to get into it. It's there's some obviously you go, okay, what were you seeing? But that one was so obvious, you just don't make that throw. That's all.
Right.
But I thought Hurts, though he had an uneven game, and we're being kind, he had some bad plays. He also had some good plays when you review that game and kind of what happened, and it just showed the mental toughness. You just got to hang in there
Yeah.
when it's not your game, and bringing the team back like you did.
Yeah, no doubt about it. The game did remind me of an Eagles game last year, but a first half game, not a second half game. There were a lot of neck and neck games in the first half. You know, the Kansas City game, the Buffalo game was one. Even the Washington game, if you remember, they were behind, they came back, then it got tied by a Jahan Dotson touchdown of all people at the last second, and then they won the game in overtime. So it did feel like a first half of last year Eagles game in that you just never felt truly certain that game was in the going to be won until they went and won it. I give the team a lot of credit, a lot of perseverance. I think when you overcome your own mistakes to win, it's a good feeling because, as you see in week one, I think you just mentioned this, right? Around the league, a lot of teams made mistakes that maybe they don't ordinarily make because it's week one and there's maybe newness on offense and defense with coordinator to coaching, and they don't win. So there was some sloppy play all around and some unexpected losses. I am already out of both of my survive. I'm an idiot, by the way. Any normal human being, any smart person with a brain who's in a survivor pool or more than one, you pick a different team so that if you mess up once, you don't mess up in all your survivor pools. But I took the Bengals over the Patriots, right? Thinking you're home, you're playing the Patriots. Patriots are going to stink. The Patriots do stink, but the Bengals turn the ball over left, right, and center. I took them in both of my survivor pools, Adam. So I'm done. I'm already done. It's week one. I'm done. That was stupid of me. I should have taken a different team in my
That
other.
was a stunner. I mean, look, that was a stunner. I know the Bengals had all sorts of issues with Higgins out and Jamar Chase oddness of not getting his contract done, and they were working on it, and
Yeah.
nobody knew how much he'd play. That's got to be a distraction. You can't have those things.
Yeah.
That was bad. The
Very
Bengals
bad.
knew this was an issue the entire offseason, and it happened.
Yeah, I mean, at least the Cowboys were smart enough to wait until the season opener to give to give Dak Prescott the contract extension you knew he was going to get. All right, but this Eagles game, a lot of good things we'll talk about, a lot of bad things, and of course, as this week goes on, we'll really be able to dissect the game even more, and then look ahead to the Atlanta game on Monday night. Atlanta also a team that really struggled week one. We'll obviously get into that later this week, but we'll have our tape breakdown show later this week with Greg Cosell. We'll have other shows here on the platform that we typically have throughout the week to break everything down. Our Patreon members will have breakdown stuff for them. But in this, so we'll go through some of the positives, the negatives, things we saw against the Packers in this episode right here. So let's start with the offense. The biggest thing is it's always good when you analyze something the way we do based on what we hear, right? And then you see it unfold. No surprises or curveballs in the fact that Kellen Moore's offense came as advertised with motion, with some misdirection, with formation diversity. You know, whether there were bunch formations, there was trips. Clearly, the wheel route touchdown was a great play, great throw by Jalen, no doubt about it. Great adjustment to catch the ball by Saquon Barkley, but that was really set up well by motion on the play and confusing the Packers defense. So those things, Adam, that we've talked about from basically from May until September, we saw coming, and that's just week one. So the Eagles can continue to build off that.
Yeah, look, we told you back in February there's going to be motion in this offense. What we did know is how much. There was no way to know. Like you saw it in training camp, but you just don't know how much a carryover they're going to have, and they had a ton of it. And Hurts's numbers were phenomenal against pre-snap motion. 15 for 21, 212, and 2 touchdowns is the V and X Gen stats, and without it, 5 for 13 and 2 picks. So obviously he's comfortable with it, no doubt about it. And it's funny how last year Sirianni, he kept being asked about it and kind of downplayed it. And you don't want to finish last in anything, or bottom 5 in anything, stat that's important. And it clearly was wrong not to have it being done more. And then Jalen, there were rumors whether he wanted it or not, but the fact of the matter is he clearly did well with it. So it's obviously here to stay. It's not going to stop. And it had a major impact. I get it's week one, so now this is on tape. We'll talk about the Falcons later. Now they have this tape. But man, did it work, and boy, did they get the response from the Packer defense that they were looking for.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, what felt to you that was sustainable from what you saw off? In other words, we know Saquon Barkley's not going to have 3 touchdowns a week. And I do think you saw what is expected from Saquon Barkley, meaning if you look at the overall picture, right? There were some really explosive runs in there, which is what he's always known for. He's a great athlete. The jump cut on the touchdown is a perfect example of something you just, even last year with DeAndre Swift, he would break him a little bit. You know, he showed his juice, but that jump cut by Saquon was vintage Saquon. So you had that explosive run. He had an explosive run in the fourth quarter. Obviously, an explosive catch on the wheel route where he turned around, caught the ball. It was beautiful. That's what his strengths are. But then in the fourth quarter, it was kind of interesting. He also had a bunch of like 1, 2, -1, -2. I remember Greg Cosell telling us that 2 years ago when the Giants made the playoffs, they tried to use Saquon to, as you know, because he's their best player, as a grinded out fourth quarter back, and it didn't work out well for him. If you go look at his runs in the fourth quarter, it felt that way a little bit. He was really struggling to break something there in the last like 7 minutes of the game when they were using him. So I wonder if that's an element that can be worked on, or if that's just what the package is with Saquon Barkley. You're going to get the 3 to 4 explosives that you want, especially in this offense. The Giants couldn't get as many because they were not as very good of an offense. The Eagles will, but can they get Barkley to be a little bit more productive when the holes aren't big? Because I want to be fair, jump cut was great, but that was a really big hole that he ran through. Maybe it's not a touchdown for
He made
Gainwell,
the
but
one
it's
guy, the
definitely
safety move, a miss. He did
yeah.
make a block and a block defender miss. But yeah, the hole was there, but he had to make the guy miss. But your first half was not great, other than the 11-yard run. If you take that run away, he was 8 for 20.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, it was really the second half, and obviously he had the long run. But you just see it's such a rare combination of size and explosion. It's just that you just don't see that.
Right.
And his ability to squeeze the hole is fascinating at his size. So I thought that was good. You noticed Gainwell was the 2-minute back,
Mm-hmm.
if you recall, in the first half. That was interesting. And then I love the use of motion with Will Shipley on the 4 plays he had. A couple of them were pre-snap motion. In fact, one of them I think I'd have to look. I thought that was Shipley in on the touchdown catch for Barkley?
No, because Dotson, I believe, was in on
Was
the
the motion guy?
touchdown back,
Okay,
and he was
because
the motion guy.
right, 83 Dotson and Dotson seemed to be on a lot of motion, by the
Yeah.
way.
Yep.
But there was one play that Shipley was in. I know that there was a big play that happened.
Mm-hmm.
So that was interesting. And Shipley's got some juice. There's no question about it. Dotson was sort of like a decoy in a way. It was kind of interesting that they used him a certain way. He didn't even have a catch or a
Right.
target. but he was used a bunch on motion.
Hmm.
And look, he did play a decent amount as the more or less the third receiver. He actually had 32 snaps of the 76 offensive snaps, so that counted for 42% of the snaps, but didn't have a target, which
Right.
tells you he was there for a specific purpose.
Yeah, clearing out and and by the way, the crazy thing still is how many different people on offense played. You mentioned Will Shipley, Johnny Wilson got in there. Uh, I don't know. Did EJ Jenkins play a snap on offense?
He did. He paid three.
He
Three.
played three. So they played all three tight ends. We did see probably more 12 personnel than Kellen Moore wanted to play, but he was able to use, again, formation diversity and make some of that really like 11 because you had a spread tight end.
Yeah, and I do wonder because it was Dotson's first game in terms of volume, other than the pre-snap motion, was he because he didn't get a target? Will his role grow even more? It's one thing to play a decent amount of snaps like he did, but to not get the ball once was kind of odd. But again, he just got there not too long ago, so you would have to think at some point the third receiver is going to be used because of Kellen Moore's history of that third receiver. So we'll see what happens going forward.
Right.
Uh, yeah, and yeah, they did. They were doing. It was pretty good breakdown between 12 and 11, which probably down the line will change once they're more comfortable with Dotson. But you know, it's interesting that really when you look at the snaps at running back, Barkley played a ton. He played way more than I expected. 61 snaps out of 76. Well, that was a lot. Because not that Gainwell was going to touch the ball a lot, but Gainwell only had 15 snaps and Shipley played 4.
Hmm.
And Barkley had a lot. Barkley carried the ball a lot. Now, as you said, they did get the fourth quarter lead. They actually went into the fourth quarter, I think, up 4, and he did have 24 carries. Where maybe they get a little more comfortable with Gainwell and Shipley. Maybe they give those guys a combination of maybe 8 carries instead of just 1.
Yeah. Yeah. We'll see what they do there going forward. So you wanted to have a discussion about Jalen Hurts' success versus not success when using motion versus not.
Yeah, I mentioned that earlier. Yeah, I
Yeah.
mentioned
Yeah. Yeah. I wanted to continue the
that. Okay,
conversation.
cool, cool.
I find that both like a positive and a negative going forward. So the positive is that the motion worked, right? And Jalen can play within that kind of system because that was a question mark, as we talked about.
Mhm.
Um, it clearly worked because 15 of 21 for 212 and 2 touchdowns with motion is excellent. But without motion, 5 of 13 for 2 interceptions, that's a little bit of alarming because I know someone might say, well, then just keep using motion and
Right.
then he'll be fine. No, because again, two things. One, the tape develops. Everybody knows you're going to be motion. Everybody's going to be more prepared for it. So you can't just always use motion. And secondly, even Kyle Shanahan and Sean McVay will tell you eventually you got to convert like 3rd and 6 in this league. And you can't motion and shift your way into,
True.
creating
True.
openings there. So
True.
Hurts, and again, not making too much out of 1 week, but Hurts being 5 of 13 though, that's a gross number right there with 2
And 2
interceptions.
picks. Yeah, 2
Yeah,
picks.
means he's
Without
got to
motion.
get more comfortable in this offense, being able to find his targets when they're not sort of schemed up for him using motion and misdirection.
Yeah, and look, 2 years ago, people, first of all, this idea that he can't be a pocket passer, he threw plenty in the pocket 2 years ago and was successful.
Hmm.
It did it without a lot of motion. So I'm just not buying that he can't play in the pocket. I didn't say 100% in the pocket, obviously. No quarterback does that. I'm interested to see what happens going forward. This is, again, as you said, only one game. Now, Raheem Morris, who's a defensive head coach, has this with Jimmy Lake, his defensive coordinator. We'll talk more about this when we break down the Falcons in future shows this week. But I'm interested, as you said, I'm interested to see going forward here. Now that this is out, they did a ton of pre-snap motion. How does it happen going forward here with Hurts here? Because again, he had 34 attempts. Majority of them were with pre-snap motion. He had 34 attempts, 21 of them had motion. And
Hmm.
he was great. He was phenomenal. And he got the looks, by the way, because yes, the Packers knew what Kellen's previous history shows with the Chargers and the Cowboys, a lot of motion. So they had that. They were able to break that down, but they don't have it with this group of players.
Hmm.
And you have to pay attention to Smith. You have to pay attention, obviously, to Brown, to the run game with Barkley. And Did you throw some eye candy and you saw with Dotson as it on Ghost Motion? We saw some of that. I'm fascinated to see what happens. I'm to just going forward here because okay, now you just mentioned this. They put this on tape. What other motion movement do they? What other different plays? Some orbit motion, obviously.
Right.
Some other stuff. Yeah, that's right. Going forward here, they're going to have to keep try. They have to mix it up.
Yeah, definitely. So two things on Jalen Hurts 2 years ago being a very good pocket passer. One, we know that with Shane Steichen, they were excellent with the RPOs. He was excellent in the pocket, quick delivery, made good decisions with the RPOs. And then secondly, he was an excellent deep ball thrower from the pocket. And there were times where he jumped on Tennessee, he jumped on Pittsburgh. If you remember, he and his receivers made excellent plays downfield early in games to get up ahead. So that has to be replicated as well for him to get back to being considered this very good pocket passer. You got to have the great deep ball touch. You got to be sharp with the RPOs. I'm going to be really interested to see on his performance this year on say 3rd and 5 and longer. That's where the great quarterbacks can make
Yep.
plays from the pocket where it's not always schemed up for him and it's not always a deep ball down a 9 route down the right or left sideline. So something to watch going forward. I want to talk about how this also impact that number, the motion versus not motion, impact the offensive line. From a running standpoint, run blocking, I think the offensive line was pretty good. I mean, if you look at the total running, it's 38 for 144. 3.8 yards per rush isn't great, but there were a lot of red zone runs. I mean, the Eagles were in the red zone and the goal line of the Packers a lot. So you had a couple of 1 and 2 yard runs there. I don't want to make too much of the 3.8. They ran the ball for 144 yards, and only 33 of them came from Jalen. Saquon himself averaged 4.5 per carry. So I thought from a run blocking standpoint, that's good. Pass blocking is harder to get a gauge on because, as you mentioned in the stat there, 200 of their 400 yards, roughly 50%, came using motion, which means the ball's getting out quickly or it's highly. It means the offensive line had to hold their blocks less because Jalen's basically got his target and he's going for it. So I'm not sure. I mean, I didn't see anything I thought was terrible, but obviously Cam Jurgens and Jalen have to get the snap count. So
Yep.
the snap worked out correctly because that second one would have been very, very costly if Saquon Barkley doesn't jump on that. Would have been catastrophic, right? And I just want to we'll talk to other people throughout the week who are really good at offensive
I mean, it
line.
looked good from my standpoint. It did. See, the thing is, Hurts sometimes creates his own pressure because he had someone who already watched the tape told me that there were some plays where he dropped his eyes, which was a major problem last season. That was when he really struggled. He was not keeping his downfield focus. So that's got to be better. There's no question. He's still not comfortable yet. But what I did like though, there were plays where he hung in there and he delivered. Like you got to do that. You got to do that. So
Yep.
the plays to build on. There's a lot to clean up. It's your typical week one. I don't think there were any like really bad. I know Lane did a pass off one where the guy got they gave up a pressure. But we'll get when we do the inside the tape show with Cosell, we'll ask Greg what he thought, obviously, of the offensive line.
Right. So the big positives for me were the 400 total yards, the 144 rushing yards, Saquon Barkley, the formation variation. The negatives on offense I worry about are the turnovers and the fact that on 3rd down, the Eagles were 4 of 14,
Yeah, that's not
29%. So that is something that is listen, you're not going to win a whole lot of games where you turn the ball over 3 times and only complete or convert 29% of your 3rd downs. That's just the reality of it. In fact, they won this game, Adam, despite being outgained because as they had 414 total yards is what I think they said. 410. The Packers had 414. So the Eagles won despite losing the turnover battle, losing the total yardage battle, and having 29% 3rd down conversion rate. That's not going to happen every week.
I mean, two reasons why they won. A, they scored 34 points despite what you just said. And It's true. Everything you said is true. But the big thing is somehow they were only down 6-0 after the first quarter.
Right.
Yeah, that kept them in the game. It looked so bad. Their offense was so bad in the first quarter. The defense came up big. I mean, time and time again, held them to those 2 field goals. And then Now we'll see. It's only one game, but here we go with the second quarter scoring again with 17 points, which is just, in fact, they scored 31 in the second and third quarters. But it was really a fascinating game. It's one of the really good week since this is our seventh year doing this show. It's really one of the best, certainly week one games we've seen. Very, very competitive.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, and last thing we should mention, very surprised. Credit to the Packers. I also don't think this is sustainable for opponents. We'll see. But the Packers were so keyed in on Jalen Hurts's keepers on the zone reads,
Yeah,
right?
they
Not
did
the
hem them
RPO, the
in.
zone
Yes,
reads.
glad you brought that up.
I've
Yeah.
never seen Jalen Hurts stuff like, and I'm not blaming Hurts. Like it's not like I don't know that he made wrong decisions. I just think the Packers did a good job of not showing that they were keyed in on it from the snap and then knowing exactly where he was going to be. So that'll be something I'm sure him and Kellen Moore and the offensive staff will work on going forward.
Yeah, they definitely hemmed him in. I mean, he just his best run of the night was 8 and it was a nice run, but overall they really shut him down. But the bottom line is they still were able to score 34. Think about it. There was Hurts had an uneven game, and I'm being kind. He obviously had some bad plays. Still hung in there. Still threw for 278. He was able to spread the ball around. Devontae had a great game. Several big catches. Brown obviously had the big play where he went right through Zaire Alexander. It really wasn't supposed to. It wasn't like it wound up being a longer play than it probably should have been, or it was intended to be, but still was a big play. 67 yards. I'll take it any day of the week. The Barkley touchdown catch was phenomenal on a wheel. That was really interesting. I thought I'll be interested to see again. He caught both targets. Will he be even a bigger factor in the pass game? Like we said coming out last year, Swift was incredibly involved in the pass game in training camp, and he wound up not being at all in the regular season. Where Barkley sort of up and down as a pass catcher in training camp, and he caught both targets. One was a huge touchdown catch, a great catch, quite frankly. So we'll see. We'll see what happens. Gainwell was really he did have a nice 10-yard catch and made a couple great moves, by the way, on that 10-yard catch. Looking at my notes here. But overall, the takeaway is that it was about the pass game and the receivers. Goddard, look, they didn't need Goddard. I want to see him involved more, but you can't get everything you want in one game. It's hard to do.
Before we get to defense, Adam, I mean, let's just talk about how amazing it was to see all those Eagles fans travel to Brazil to be at Corinthians Arena. I mean, I know Eagles fans travel well, but that was really impressive. And you and I both know there's nothing like being at a live football event, whether it's Eagles or another team, Super Bowl, whatever it is. But it must be something to be at a game in Brazil, a football game in Brazil, like those Eagles fans did. And I guarantee you, some of them probably got tickets using the Game Time app because the Game Time app is perfect when you want to go see a game live and you want the right seats for the part of the arena you want to sit in. And that's what the Game Time app helps you do. They've got the feature called Game Time Picks that makes getting tickets to see your favorite teams play live even easier. It filters out all the fluff and only shows you the incredible deals on the great seats. So you don't have to waste time searching through thousands of tickets. All right. And I know people are going to want to do that pretty soon with the Phillies here coming down the stretch. And then once they get into the playoffs, you don't want to go to spend all this money on a playoff game and sit in lousy seats, right? If you're going to spend a lot of money, you're going to say, I want the perfect seats for me. I want the super deal. And that's exactly what Game Time has. They have actual section called the super deal that helps you find the best value in each section. And of course, you can see the view from your seat before you buy. They've got the lowest price guarantee, the event cancellation protection, and the job loss protection. As Game Time likes to tell you, you are covered with the most flexible customer service policy in the ticketing industry. And if you don't find the lowest price on Game Time, they'll credit you 110% of the difference. And this doesn't just mean for NFL games and MLB games. It could be concerts and any other shows that you can get tickets for on Game Time. So take the guesswork out of buying concert tickets, MLB tickets, NFL tickets, whatever it is with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, use code BIRDS for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem the code BIRDS, BIRDS, for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. All right, so defense, Adam. Here you want to know why the Eagles won despite giving up over 400 yards of offense to the Packers? I'll give you two stats that if you do this well, you usually win games, even if you make mistakes like the Eagles did. One, on third down, the Eagles' third down defense, they held the Green Bay to 3 of 11. So that's 27%. So Green Bay was actually even worse. I mentioned how bad the Eagles were on third down. Green Bay was worse. 3 for 11, 27%. And in the
Mm.
red zone, the Packers were just 1 of 4, one touchdown on 4 trips. And that goes back to earlier in the game, to your point, when the Eagles had their turnover issues and the Packers got the ball, the Packers had to settle for field goals instead of getting touchdowns. Now I know there was the quarterback slipped and the wide receiver slipped, would have been a touchdown.
Yep.
It doesn't matter because everybody was slipping. It bothered
Yeah.
both teams. I'm not getting into that. The point is, as bad as it looked at times defensively, that was a really big first quarter defense that they played there after those turnovers to be able to keep the game manageable. And I know Jalen Carter made some plays there. Jomo had a good rush. That one actually came later in the game, but it was in the red zone. So red zone defense, very, very vital for them to be able to pull that one out.
Yeah, the by the way, the run defense was very odd. It was kind of one of these things where it looks like they're shutting them down. The Jacobs had a slow first half. Emmanuel Wilson comes out of nowhere, puts up 46 yards. It was more the run fits. It wasn't like so much missed tackles. It was you talked about it in the pregame about the zone cuts
Mm-hmm.
off play action or toss play on on a zone stretch. They got gashed with that. That was the problem. We'll see what happens with Atlanta. By the way, Zach Robinson's running his version of McVay's offense, so you know that's coming. You know
Mm-hmm.
that's coming. He's running his version of a West Coast offense. You know it's going to come with Bijan Robinson. So they're going to have to clean this up. Vic Fangio and Clint Hurd and Bobby King, the linebackers coach, they're going to have to clean this stuff up. That was not good. They're very lucky when you get gashed like they did and giving those big runs up. But the good thing is the red zone defense was pretty effective. They shut them down. And let's not forget the big, unbelievable play by Blankenship, reading that play and the drop by on that play. Bond got in the way of the throw. I thought that was phenomenal. Jordan Love did not have a good game. We'll give the Eagles defense credit, but he also did not play well.
Yeah.
The defense had something to do with it. Boy, he thrown off his back foot, off
Yeah.
balance. He was not comfortable before he got
No.
hurt. That
Also,
was
3 or 4 really, really impactful drops and maybe it
yeah.
was from slipping, but there was one in the end zone. There was one by Dobbs in the middle of the field, wide open. There was one that I don't know. The broadcaster said it was an underthrow, but the receiver said had it. I thought he was just going back shoulder. That was Watson, I think, who dropped it. But those were like, again, in a one possession game, those were so critical.
Right. So Quinyon Mitchell played pretty well. He had one where he got beat, and it might have been one of the plays you were talking about. It was thrown to the wrong shoulder. Like it should have been this shoulder if you're watching us on YouTube. He
Mhm.
threw it on this one, so Quinyon was able to put his hand in.
Right.
So,
Right.
but let's give Quinyon Mitchell props for with that group with Reed, who had a big game. We understand. We'll get more into that with Cosell about whose mistakes they were. But Dobbs had a nice game. Watson had the touchdown on Maddox. They still hung in there. Wicks was not a factor. Dontavian Wicks was not a factor at all. It was a good story for them last year. Jacobs was 2 for 20 in the pass game. He didn't kill them though. It was Reed, obviously the big 70-yard play. That was not good.
Mm.
But overall, Love didn't crush him. Like I was, if you're an Eagles fan, you had to be concerned coming to the game because Love was phenomenal last year, the second half of the season. But they hung in there, and in the end, he didn't crush him.
Yeah, the two guys I really wanted to single out. You mentioned Quinyon Mitchell played really well. Good to see. You want to see rookies who had good camps show that was real. You saw him jawing at a few guys too, which he's done to AJ Brown and Devontae
Yeah.
Smith. So I like it. I'm encouraged. Just 1 week, but he gave up some catches too, by the way, because corners are going to do that and rookies are going to do that. But you haven't felt really this good about a young Eagles corner in quite a while.
Oh,
So you give him his
yeah.
props for that. And you mentioned Zach Vaughn running,
Oh my God.
he forced that. It was a great, great interception by Reed Blankenship because he had to dive low to the ground to get it. But it happened because Zach Vaughn was in the place he was supposed to be. And for an Eagles linebacker, that is a great place to start because for a lot of that game, there were linebackers not where they were supposed to be. But I talked to someone who saw the tape, knows the team well, watched it, and someone who was skeptical about whether Zach Bond could
Yeah.
really play the position, and he was impressed with Bond's ability. Again, one game, we won't go crazy, but it was nice to see.
Yeah, his zone drops are good.
Hmm.
He had 11 solos, 4 assists, the 2 sacks. The thing that was so impressive for a guy who's so new to the position, has never played it before, his ability to diagnose quickly and go forward and impact so many plays was really incredible.
Hmm.
Dean had some good plays, the plays I'm sure he'd like to have back. But Bond was, by the way, Bond played every single snap in that
Yep.
game. That I'm so interested to see what happens going forward. Whether okay, this was an exceptional game, but if he could just play consistently good football at a new position that he's playing here, that I mean, like I remember when we did the show, the free agency show after he signed, we had heard like they looked into Van Ginkel, but he was coming back from a broken foot, and they were not going to pay him 10 million. It was never going to happen because they were not going to pay him. But they found maybe Van Ginkel light, who knows?
Right.
And he played on the edge a little bit in this
They're not
game,
going to
which
pay any linebacker, by the way, $10 million.
yeah, exactly, right. And we asked Andrew on the postgame show. Andrew does not remember seeing Bond line up on the edge,
Hmm.
and he did a little bit in this game. So I'm glad. Bottom line is Fangio. You got to give the guy credit. He sees something like no other team saw. Although I would tell you, I'm sure it wasn't just him. It's not he's signing these players. So whoever in pro personnel or Howie, obviously, because it's his call in the end, he makes all personnel decisions. Somebody liked him, to be able to
Hmm.
do this. This is pretty impressive.
Yeah, definitely. So Mitchell, Bond, Jomo had a good rush in there. I
Yep.
thought the interior DL, I mean, Jalen Carter, we already mentioned this in the postgame show, so I don't want to beat it to death, but gotta make Vic and his staff have to make sure that because he had success last year and everybody knows about him now, and he might be feeling his oats a little bit, that he doesn't let that get out of hand, because there were a couple of plays that just were. Didn't he have an unnecessary roughness on a field goal or something like that? I know he
Well,
had
he had
one
a
in
bad,
the
yeah,
game,
he had a
but
penalty, a really bad penalty. You
yeah.
gotta, because the ref always as Todd Blackledge says, the ref always gets the last guy. They see the last guy, they just see the last guy and they throw the flag. So he's got to be
Mhm.
smarter than that. I'm interested to see how Cosell saw Jordan Davis. I know he didn't have a stat, he didn't record even a tackle, but that doesn't mean he didn't play well.
Right. You have the
So
snap counts, right? Did he play more than 30% of the? I can look real quick if you don't have it.
yeah, in fact, the one thing I do want to bring up here, and this is a little concerning. Again, it's only one game, but we have to mention it. Brandon Graham played more than Bryce Huff.
Yes. Well, I was going to get to the edges in a
Just
second.
wanted to
I knew
mention
that.
that.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that's interesting. We'll file that under something to monitor closely. So Jordan
Yes.
Davis played 52% of the snaps,
Yeah. Of
but the
62.
Eagles did not have a very good run defense. So we don't know if he played well in those 52% of the
Yeah.
snaps.
We'll ask Greg how he graded him. We'll check
Yeah.
with other people too who saw the tape. But this is an interesting game because coaches will tell you that the first game, the great thing is you actually get real tape, real tackle football tape, posted training camp where there's no tackling, where you
Mhm.
can't hit the quarterback. Quarterback wears a red jersey. Now you've got the tape. Now you make your corrections. You hope there's nothing egregious where you go, wow, that was really bad. Do we have a problem on our hands? We'll get into that more after we talk to Greg and other people this coming week. But the bottom line is still plenty of good on defense. Yeah, there was some bad. It was a knockdown, drag out offensive fest. When the Packers, I think, what did they take the lead 4 times, something like that?
Something like that. Yeah.
Were you like, uh-oh, they're in trouble, or what were your thoughts on that was going on?
Um, I thought, yeah, when they started to run the ball as they did in the second quarter, and then Jaden
Jaden
Reed
Reed, yeah.
breaks the big 33-yard touchdown run. They go up 12-7. Then the Eagles go up 14-12 on the Barkley run, but then they come right back. So that was in 3 plays, and then they get the long pass to another Jaden Reed touchdown, 70 yards, and they go up 19-14. I got a little nervous there. Uh, it's a good thing that they came out of the halftime with that big play to AJ Brown,
Hmm.
because if they punt there, they go 3-and-out, or they get the ball back to Green Bay, this could have been a totally different game.
Totally, yeah, totally. But the bottom line is they were able to close well. Now, Love gets hurt on the final drive, so we don't know if they would have scored or not. But Malik Willis was so overmatched. It's tough, man. That's a tough thing. I mean, there's no way to prepare for that. But the Eagles brought it. They had to do. They got the job done, and we'll see. Well, the next game. The cool thing is though that they have a lot of time off. They had the weekend off, so they should be well rested. We don't know of any injuries coming out of the game. There was none listed. The Rogers injury was not a pop up. It was actually happened a couple weeks ago with his hand. So we'll see what they do here. Who's listened, who's not going forward, and also with Devin White. Now that happened in practice, as Sirianni said. He was asked about it. We'll see if for the conspiracy theorists, we'll see what he's able to do and not do this week.
Right, right. So just to finish off the front end, yeah, some good things on the interior, some troublesome signs in one game on the edge, because between Sweat, Nolan Smith, Bryce Huff, and even Brandon Graham, who played a decent amount of snaps, I believe that one hurry among those four, as far as the charting goes. So maybe the coaches may have it a little bit different, but anybody who watched the game with their eyes saw that it wasn't like Jordan Love was under a whole lot of he was throwing off his back foot because he was trying to buy time and backpedal out of almost habit, not out of I'm feeling like the rush on me. So
Sure,
I think he was trying to do some Aaron Rodgers types things out there.
Yeah, I thought. Yeah, I some was self-inflicted, but really both quarterbacks for different reasons, but had some bad self-inflicted plays. But
Right.
Overall, though, the cool thing is both sides of the football had a big hand in winning the game.
Mm-hmm.
The defense recovered, like they were great in the first quarter. They really saved the game, quite frankly. Then they had their issues. The offense took over. Then the offense had a lull. Then the defense made plays. The Blankenship pick with Bond. It's just this is one of these because you wonder, can this continue? Not at that level. Could he just play consistently well? We'll look and we'll see go forward where they can do that. They got to get Bryce Huff going. So this is total work in progress. We'll have to see what happens there going forward, whether he could get himself together. I mean, Brandon Graham, it's nice that BG played as much as he did, but that's not like sustainable.
Mm-hmm.
Like they're not asking. You typically don't ask a 36-year-old player to play like this.
Yeah, not if you want him to be effective in November, December,
Yeah,
and
exactly.
January and February. So
yeah, and you saw with Josh Sweat with all the snaps he played last season, how he wore down. So
yeah,
we'll see what happens. But overall, it was because there was so much we didn't have time to talk about after the game. This is good that we're doing this because there's some stuff we just didn't know at the time, which we kind of learned. And by the way, Darius Slay had a really good game.
he did. Slay
Yeah,
played
we
well.
should have mentioned that too. He's healthy, by the way, because last year we didn't know about the knee. It was that bad.
Yeah,
we knew there was a knee issue, but we didn't know as bad as it would turn out to be. He would have a scope.
right.
But he looks at 33 and a half, looks pretty good.
Yeah, no doubt about it. Last thing on the secondary, CJ, I don't know if you saw CJ Gardner-Johnson. He kind of took to his social media to defend himself against, I guess, fan outrage over his bad tackling. And like, do what you want. I'm not going to tell a guy to do if he wants to do that, that's fine. I will say though, that I thought some of his excuse, like people don't understand what it's like when you're a safety and a guy's shooting at you through the line 100 miles per hour and you have to make an adjustment. Like, I think fans do understand that. I mean, you're not expected to make every play, but you are one of 11 on defense. And if you consistently, and this goes back to 2 years ago when he wasn't a very good tackler against the run, if you're consistently not making plays, defending yourself and saying you guys don't understand my position is an insult to other players who play his position who can tackle. I mean, there are plenty of safeties in this league who can tackle. So, and who you're expected to tackle. I remember when Ronald Darby was a bad tackler at corner for the Eagles. And you know what? Teams that knew about, like the Cowboys, they would throw screens at him all the time because they know he wouldn't. So if you're a liability and you're not working to get better at it, then, you're a liability for a reason. And people are going to point that out. So he can do what he wants and he can say what he pleases. That's fine. We know he likes to talk anyway, but I don't know. I think like if you're one of 11 on defense, you're expected to make certain plays, not all the plays, but you're not expected to be a liability, especially when you're a high paid guy or one of the better players on defense. So that's all I'll say about that. Obviously the Eagles run defense wasn't very good at long stretches. And if you're part of it, you're part of it. You don't get to separate yourself and defend yourself and say, well, I play safety. That doesn't work that way.
Yeah.
All right. So that's all. Did we mention Isaiah Rodgers with the hand?
Yeah. I just said
you
it.
did.
Yeah,
that's right.
Yeah, he's got it. But what I would add though is he's got to get cleared for contact. So The good thing is it's a long week, and we'll see. To be honest with you, yeah, they love to have him because he's fast. The Mitchell played outside almost exclusively. Maddox was the nickel. I know people are getting on him on social about giving up plays. Okay, I get it. Cooper DeJean played in some dime. He played in the box some. We'll learn more about his role going forward. But that was it. I mean, they have depth this year at corner, man. Last year was terrible. For years it was bad, but this year's pretty good.
Definitely. All right, we'll round it out here. We'll just finish off with a quick look ahead to the Falcons on Monday night. Before we do that, let's pause for a second and hear a word from our friends at Sky Motor Cars.
Sky Motor Cars in Westchester is a different sort of dealership. All it takes is one look at the Highline pre-owned vehicles that people over the country want to see. Owner Brett Schiller, make sure you don't spend a dime of your money before you purchase the car. Sky Motor Cars allows you to make all the decisions regarding your next vehicle. At Sky Motor Cars, you never have to spend more than necessary. Visit SkyMotorCars.com today or call 610-918-7225.
And if you hop into Sky Motor Cars out there in Westchester, PA, make sure you tell them Adam and Geoff sent you. You will get a great deal. We do want to welcome and thank our newest members to Patreon, Michael and Brennan. We've had several also hop aboard. We got everybody's Discord now worked out. Everything's great. So the Discord chats will continue with Adam Caplan throughout the week, each week. And people will this week, our tier 3 members, all right, our $15 tier 3 members will experience how amazing the Ask Greg Cosell live stream is. That'll be tomorrow night at what time are we doing that? 8 o'clock, I believe. 8 to 8:30.
Yep, 8 Eastern for 30 minutes.
Right.
Yep.
People are going to jump into a Zoom chat room with you, me, and Greg Cosell, and they're going to get to ask Greg any question. Well, I mean, football questions that they want about the Eagles game, about the upcoming game against the Falcons. And that is just an unbelievable experience for them. We know how much people like talking to Mike Quick for the Ask an Eagle segment that we did a couple of weeks ago. So now this is for our tier 3 members, Ask Greg Cosell. You got to get in on it. It's patreon.com/inside the birds. All right. So Falcons, Eagles, Monday night, Kirk Cousins. Watch the game, Adam. As I said in my week 1 preview that I did last week, it wouldn't shock me if the Steelers went into Atlanta and won that game. I still think defensively they're a very good team. I felt that they were struggle offensively, and they did. But man, the Falcons struggled offensively even more. And what jumped out to me, and I think this is kind of big, you talked about their new offensive coordinator, Zach Robinson, being a Shanahan guy and running that kind of a scheme.
Yep.
A lot of shotgun, a lot of motion, and didn't really hit me until I was watching the game, is that Kirk Cousins hasn't really played that kind of scheme before. He's more, even though Kevin O'Connell from Minnesota is also in that brand. He did way more under center with Kirk Cousins. He almost catered to what Kirk Cousins did well in Minnesota. I think they were one of the higher percentage of under center teams, Minnesota, when they had Kirk Cousins. Okay. And now you're seeing him in shotgun and not being able to have that sort of play action that you get when you're under center. And I wonder if that's going to take some time for him.
A couple things happened in that game. They got ball control, that they kept bogging down.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's bad when Ray McLeod, who's their third receiver, leads them in receiving. That can't happen. Yeah. That's just bad. And they were so inept. And Cousins thinks he's not mobile. TJ Watt, it doesn't show in the numbers. He did have a sack. He was all over the place.
Mm-hmm.
Their D-line took over. They're not great at corner, opposite Porter. They affect what we're told there. Pittsburgh's kind of working for their nickel position. They're playing an undrafted Beanie Bishop. They're playing an undrafted free agent at nickel because the guy who's gonna be it is suspended. The guy that they got back, who went to the Lions and then he came back. Cam Sutton.
Yeah.
Right. So, but look, man, they shut him down. That was interesting. They controlled Bijan. I thought Pittsburgh did a great job. Mm-hmm. Pitt scored, but they really didn't give up any big plays. I thought they did an excellent job. So the Eagles the Eagles learn a lot. They learn a lot. Vic Fangio and his group of coaches learn a lot in that game. Mm-hmm. Now Fields was very limited, did very little downfield. Him and Pickens did hook up for 40-yarder. But
yeah, there were a couple of big ones, but not
a couple, just a couple, yeah. Right? He only threw for 156 because he didn't have to because they had the ball and they possessed it.
Right.
But he was a factor in the run game, though. Fields was. He ran the ball a lot, but see what happened was he didn't let a lot of plays develop. But in the end, their defense took over and they won. And to hold on the road, to hold the home team in Atlanta to 10 points, that's pretty fat. That's pretty strong. So
Yeah.
That's good for the Eagles. They see this and they saw some stuff they could absolutely exploit.
Yeah, I mean, your point on Ray McLeod being the leading, it has to be the most deflating thing for the Falcons with all the optimism they had for Kirk Cousins. And again, week 1, not making a big deal, but
Yep.
you want to get off to a good start. You're at home. You let the Steelers travel base, which is great, take over the stadium. And Drake London, 2 for 15. Like you said, Kyle Pitts, 3 for 26. Yeah, he caught a touchdown, but 3 catches. I mean, those are your 2 big guys there. Who's the guy that they brought in to stretch the field from the Bears?
Mooney, Darnell Mooney.
Did he show up? I mean, 1 for 15.
Yeah,
that's not good. That's
No.
not good. That's not going to get done. You're going to have to score to beat the Eagles, even if on a bad day for the Eagles, you're going to have to score to beat them.
100%, because with all the Eagles pass options, and here's the thing where the Eagles are going to be able to exploit them. The Falcons are not good at their number 2 corner.
Mm-hmm.
Terrell's great. AJ Terrell's a terrific player. They're going to be able to exploit that. Justin Simmons and Bates are obviously experienced safeties, but that's where they could exploit. Now, Matthew Judon was a factor. Grady Jarrett's healthy. Again, we'll talk more about the matchups as the week goes along, but boy, if you're the Eagles, you got to feel pretty good about what happened there.
I would think so. And obviously this week will be a good week for them to correct some of their mistakes and study the Falcons and see what they can do. Will this be the first game against the Falcons since Nick Sirianni's first game as head coach?
I think so.
Yeah, which was also a win in Atlanta. So a lot has changed since then. A lot has gone on.
Yeah, right. Hurts is 4-0 now, I think, right? As a
4-0 against
opener.
In the openers?
Yeah, I think so.
I think you're right. Yeah, Detroit year 2, right? Atlanta year 1. Who was last year? I don't even remember who they opened up the season against last year. Why can't I remember that off the top of my head?
Yeah, Detroit you mentioned. In 2023, they beat the Patriots. Hurts
yes.
They won.
Yeah.
They won.
Yeah, they won. They won. They were 4-0. Nice job. Good.
In fact, they were 5-0. They were 5-0 to start the season last year.
That's right. Well, they were
10-1.
So yeah.
Oh my, that is amazing. I totally forgot they were 10-1. Wow.
Yeah. So did they.
By the way, so the Eagles broke. They won. Jaguars, they choked. That's bad, man. That is bad for Doug. They didn't score a point in the second half. Oof, that's not good.
Not good at all. I actually said in my NFL Week 1 game preview, I said Doug needs to win that game because the seat's going to feel really hot if they start off 0-1, and to have lost the way they lost, where they had the lead and blew it, not very good. You don't want to see that offense sputter in the second half.
When the owner comes, and when the owner comes out and says over the summer that the coaches have to do a better job of developing their players, I was like, wow.
Yeah.
What owner? That's Jerry Jones-ish.
Yes, it is.
Rashad Khan. Wow.
All right. Well, that is going to do it for this episode of Inside the Birds, the leading podcast in Eagles intel. And as always, we thank you for flying with us inside the birds. Be sure to check out our friends at PHLSportsNation.com. They're enhancing the fans' experience with their coverage of all Philadelphia sports teams. For the fan, by the fan is their motto. So make sure you check them out at PHLSportsNation.com and on Twitter at PHLSportsNation.